now listening to the Dynasty Rewind.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dynasty Rewind. I'm your host, Michael Bauer, the best in the business. Once again, back in business. Joined as always by my faithful co-host, Nate, Professor Christian. Nate, hello and welcome back.
Hello. As always, Mike, thank you for having me here on the Dynasty Rewind podcast.
Yes.
Excited to be here. It is the playoff time. We talked about it a little bit last podcast, but I am feeling really good about this coming weekend.
Yeah, me too. Excited. Some of my first round buys are out of the way. Excited to get those lineups set and go for it. But let's talk about, hey, if your league's still open, we got some trade values for you guys, some players that we're looking forward to this week and possibly beyond. So, Nate, let's kick it off for you. Who is the first player you want to talk about today?
We got to talk about him because as good as Malik Neighbors has been, Brian Thomas Jr. might be the best rookie wide receiver this year. Now, I still think it's Malik Neighbors, but Brian Thomas Jr. is doing his best impression of the best rookie wide receiver in this class. Right now, wide receiver 7 on the season, which is extremely impressive, especially when you consider the Jaguars have not been good, and Mac Jones is the quarterback currently. 64 receptions for 956 yards and 8 touchdowns on 99 targets. So this coming weekend, he's likely to break that 1,000-yard mark in his rookie season. You know, he could end up with double-digit touchdowns. I mean, we're talking an incredible rookie season from Brian Thomas Jr. I believe he goes by just Brian Thomas now, so I need to get out of the habit of saying that. But Brian Thomas has just been so pro-ready this season. He looks like a pros pro, looks like a veteran out there. It's been really impressive. And moving forward, we do expect to see Trevor Lawrence back next year. We probably will see a different coaching staff. We don't have that confirmed yet, of course, but I have my doubts that Dougie P is going to end up in Jacksonville again for another season. So
Seems unlikely.
So we got Brian Thomas Jr. We got one of the best young wide receivers up and coming right now. What does it cost to get him? Is this the time to buy before it gets even more expensive, Mike? Let's check it out. How about Jerry Jeudy, first-round pick and a second-round pick?
I mean, seems like a lot. Jerry Jeudy's playing decently right now, but if
Jameis Winston's not the quarterback anymore.
That is true. I mean, I'm okay with it. I think Brian Thomas likely will have a longer-term ceiling trajectory over Jerry Jeudy.
I love this trade. I would totally make it. You know, I hate 3-for-1 trades, but I'm a big believer in Brian Thomas right now. So
yeah.
Next trade we got here, TJ Hawkinson and a first-round pick for Brian Thomas and a third-round pick.
That positional scarcity kind of worries me a little bit there, admittedly.
Yeah. To be fair, there are many more tight ends that are viable these days than there were just 2 or 3 years ago.
True.
But I'm good with this trade. I think it's fair. I could go either way. I'm fine with either side here. It's hard to pass on TJ Hawkinson, a first-round pick, I will say.
Yeah.
But if you have another tight end, I'm okay with paying this to go get Brian Thomas.
Yeah.
And then another trade here, Mike, currently in the IR, but we know when he's playing, he is very good and a great young wide receiver himself. But Rashee Rice and a second-round pick for Brian Thomas.
Seems fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think I like Brian Thomas Jr. a little bit better, and I like Rashee Rice. So,
Yeah, I'm happy making all of these trades. I think now is the time to buy into Brian Thomas. Obviously, it would have been great to buy him a little bit sooner than this. But if you got some FOMO and you don't want to miss out, this is the time to do it, because over the offseason, when people are looking back and we're saying, Brian Thomas Jr., finished with a top 12 wide receiver season his rookie year, it's going to be untouchable, basically. So go get him right now.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to my first player, and this is our running back 23 on the season somehow. And Nate, that is Indianapolis Colts running back Jonathan Taylor. So in his last game, 22 carries, 107 yards. That was 4.9 yards per carry. 1 catch, 4 yards, no touchdowns there. Did have 5 games over 100 yards this season. And is he on pace to have his second best season of his career? He actually is. Currently, it's his rookie year, which was 232 carries, 1,169 yards, and 11 touchdowns, 36 catches, 299, and 1 touchdown through the air. Now, this season so far, 208 carries, 911 yards, 5 touchdowns, 15 receptions, 122 yards, and 1 touchdown. So he's going to need more touchdowns, but yardage-wise, he's going to be close. His best season overall, though, was 2021 when he had 332 carries, 1,811 yards, 18 touchdowns, and still had 40 catches, 360 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That 21 season was just
great season.
Amazing. And remember, the whole helmet scouting thing. Oh, he's a Wisconsin running back. He can't catch. He can catch. Just didn't ask him to do it. So don't helmet scout, ladies and gentlemen. What's it cost to get Jonathan Taylor? And do we want to buy into Jonathan Taylor? Let's look at it. 25 first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
No, we're to the point where we need to start probably giving some context to 25 firsts.
Right.
Now, I don't, this class isn't the strongest class. It's a pretty deep class at running back, but Jonathan Taylor's really good. I think I'd have to at least be like the 105, 106. I think any higher than that, and I'm keeping the pick. But,
where's your running back cutoff for Jonathan Taylor? You're probably going to take Ashton Jeanty over him. Maybe Omari and Hampton.
Right? Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit like the team dependent, but there's enough talent out there that one of those guys, whether it's Marion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins, they're going to end up in a really good situation. And that guy's probably over Jonathan Taylor as well, if not maybe 2 of them. Yeah, depending on the team situation.
And for reference, so your trades are courtesy of Dynasty Daddy, right?
Yes, they are.
And mine are courtesy of Fantasy Calc. So these trades did happen. Here's another one: Chris Olave and Greg Dulcich for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah,
sure.
No problem with that.
Okay with that. And Theo Johnson in the 25 first.
Yeah. I think Jonathan Taylor is a great buy right now going off these prices.
Sure looks it. Nate, who do you have next?
All right, next up, we talked about him a little bit on the last podcast because we were talking about J.J. McCarthy. But, hey, no one's playing really too much better than Sam Darnold right now. One of the better quarterbacks in the league this year. Currently quarterback 8 on the season, 3,530 yards, 29 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. And he's going to be a pending free agent. He's going to be a free agent this offseason. I don't know where he's going to go. Does he stay in Minnesota? Does he go to the Raiders, to the Giants? Who needs a quarterback? Those guys have top picks, so it might be somebody else who doesn't have quite the top pick. But
funny because the Jets could use a quarterback.
The Jets could use a quarterback, Mike. That would be quite ironic, wouldn't it? If I was Sam Darnold, I would never want to go back to New York, though, ever. So I would be very surprised if he ends up in New York, either with the Giants or the Jets. But Sam Darnold is going to be starting next year somewhere. That is for sure guaranteed at this point with how he's played this year. So, I don't think people are quite bought in all the way on Sam Darnold yet because of the unknown, but that could lead to a good buying window. Now that we have seen him play for an entire season, we've seen him be good this entire season. Maybe we want to buy back in. Let's look at the prices. A first-round pick.
Sure. Especially with how this quarterback class looks. If you really need one, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Would you pay a first and a second? Because I saw some go for just a straight up first. Also saw a good amount go for a first and a second round pick.
If it's a super flex league, I think you're probably looking at a first and second. If it's a 1 QB, it might be a late first.
Early second.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a second round pick if it's one quarterback. I would not be paying a first round pick for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'm also assuming, if you're paying a first and a second, it's probably mid to late both sides.
So. Most likely.
All right. Next up for Sam Darnold, Xavier Worthy and a third round pick.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Xavier Worthy believer. So he's the Chiefs version of Jameson Williams. Very inconsistent.
Yeah. I like the kid, but I think his usage is similar to what you're saying there.
Yeah.
All right. How about another wide receiver, Tank Dell and 2/3 for Sam Darnold?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with that as well.
So once again, we have another buy here, Sam Darnold. Let's go get him.
All right. Let's see if we have another aging buy here too. I wanted to bring this guy up because he's been playing really well. This is New York Jets wide receiver Davante Adams against the Jaguars, Nate. 9 catches, 198 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Who knew that all you had to do to win a game was fire Robert Saleh? Now, granted, that was a few months ago, but still it happened. He has 11 or more targets in the last 3 games, and that was 12, 11, 12. Second consecutive 100-yard receiving game, and 3 straight games with at least 1 touchdown. So he's been really productive lately. He's wide receiver 16 on the season, 11.3 fantasy points per game. It's amazing how healthy you get when you get traded from the Raiders to the Jets. Who would have thought? So let's see. Do we want to buy in? We might have another couple years left. Let's see. A 25-second. I saw this trade multiple times.
Yeah, I'm good with a 25-second. If you're a competing team, you expect it could stay competitive after this year. Because I think Davante Adams is a good enough wide receiver, or just because he's 31 years old does not mean he's going to drop off the cliff. I do think we have another year or two of Davante Adams. I don't know where it's going to be, but I think we still have another year or two.
That's true. 25 first for Cooper Kupp and Davante Adams. Just wanted to clarify that one was a super flex league.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is going to be a late first, if you're moving it for these aging pieces. So in that instance, I'm okay. You're hoping to have the 110, 111, 112. I'm fine with doing that for both these guys together.
Okay. And the last one is a straight up trade, Michael Pittman.
Probably not.
I was going to say, I put this one on here just for you.
But if you're a competitive team and you need one more wide receiver to fill out your lineup, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because Michael Pittman is 27 years old, I believe. So he's not, some young buck that, we still have a ton of potential for. He is in a weird place where he is going into his prime, but he's not playing like it. Yeah. And part of that could be team situation. I think a large amount of it is. But unfortunately, he just signed an offseason extension, so he's there. So I think Michael Pittman, unfortunately, over the next couple of years could be the guy that has more talent than his production shows. But all that being said, I do find this probably a fair trade. It's probably going to be team dependent on what your direction is.
Nate, who is the next player that you have for us?
All right. Rico Dowdle, the Cowboys running back, hails from South Carolina, where I watched the game film before he was an undrafted free agent and said, you know what, if this guy ever gets healthy, he could do something if ever given the chance. He's got to get healthy and be given a chance. Took a couple of years for that to actually happen, but here it happened. And Rico has taken full advantage of it. I am so happy for him, so excited for him. Currently the RB 25 on the season. But Mike, if we just look at the last 4 weeks where he's really taken over that starting job, he is RB 11 over the last 4 weeks and averaging 15.5 points per game.
Yeah.
Also, over the last 4 weeks, he is second in the NFL in rushing yards with 478, only behind Saquon Barkley. Right now, Rico Dowdle is a league winner. We'll see how it finishes the next 2 weeks, but right now, Rico Dowdle is playing like a league winner. Who would have thought? And if you want to go get him for these last couple of weeks for your team, what's it going to cost you? I'm telling you, it's not going to cost too much. How about a late second, Mike?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Making a push. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're going for it. How about Cedric Tillman and a 4th-round pick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Cedric Tillman, but the Browns are a mess right now. I know it's weird we don't say that about the Browns very often.
And then how about moving a guy on IR? J.K. Dobbins for Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, I mean, J.K. Dobbins banged up a lot. We don't know what his future holds, so I'm okay with that as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with all these. I actually love all of these if you're going after Rico to go win your championship. Mike, I do have a question for you, though, with Rico. Do you think he's going to be the starting running back for the Cowboys next year?
I don't know. I didn't think he was going to be the starting running back for the Cowboys this year. I thought the Cowboys would draft somebody. I think he will probably be there, and I think he will have some viability to him. Maybe they draft somebody and they want to do kind of a committee situation to get started. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, with the way the Cowboys are playing right now, they should have an earlier pick. They're not going to be top 5, I don't think. I haven't looked at any updated drafts.
I'm sure they're in the teens somewhere, maybe low teens.
Yeah, but they're still – then again, I doubt that they draft a running back in the first round. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I just looked it up. Rico Dowdle is a free agent after the season, so they could re-sign him and he could return, or he can go find himself a job somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be in the league. he'll be getting carries somewhere. I mean, he could maybe stay with Dallas. It gives him a team-friendly deal, quote unquote, which I don't think that's a thing, by the way, really. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Rico in the offseason. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
let's talk about a cheat code and your quarterback 2 on the season behind only Lamar Jackson, Nate. That is Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen. He's got to score over 40 points a game because his defense can't tackle anybody. Against the Lions, check this out, man. 23 of 34, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 11 carries, 68 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Just, my God. On the season, 275 out of 427, 3,395 yards, 25 touchdowns to only 5 picks, by the way. 91 carries, 484 yards, and 11 touchdowns on the ground. He is averaging 25 fantasy points per game. And Nate, he's behind QB1 Lamar Jackson, who is only 0.8 points per game ahead of him with 25.8. The other quarterbacks averaging over 20 points per game. Quarterback 3, Jalen Hurts, 22.5. Quarterback 4, Joe Burrow, 22.1. Quarterback 5, Baker Mayfield. Remember when I told everybody to buy him last year? 21.5. Quarterback 6, Jaden Daniels, 20.8. Then after that, you drop off Jared Goff, quarterback 7, 19.5. What does it cost to get this guy? It's not going to be cheap, but you're going to have him for a while, and you're going to be happy that you did. Jaden Daniels in a 25 first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, Josh Allen's a cheat code. Jaden Daniels, maybe his ceiling is 25 points per game because he's already at 20. But if you can make the move with just a first to go get Josh Allen, I think that's a valuable deal.
Yeah, I agree. CJ Stroud, a 25 first and a 25 second.
Yeah, I'm good with this. If I'm good with moving Jaden Daniels in the first, I'm good with this deal as well. CJ Stroud, as much as I love him as an NFL quarterback, his fantasy production has not been great this year. And I don't think he has that fantasy upside that Daniels or Allen has because CJ Stroud doesn't run as much. So
it's true. And CJ Stroud averaging less fantasy points per game at 14.4 than Aaron Rodgers, 16.2. Last one. This is a bigger one. Joe Burrow and 2.25 seconds for Josh Allen and 2.25 thirds.
Yeah, this is a little bit of preference, I would say. Obviously the 2/3 for 2 seconds, you do get some upgrades there. But I believe that Joe Burrow is going to be a really good quarterback and a really good fantasy producer for a very long time. He's going to be linked to Jamar Chase for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to get T. Higgins back. I don't know how realistic that is. I don't mind this trade. I also don't mind keeping Burrow if that's my side. So I'm not really going to pick one here. I'm fine with it. If you want to go get Allen for this price, I don't think it's paying too much of a premium for him. I think this is the price of an upgrade from Burrow to Allen, but you're only upgrading, apparently 3 or 4 points per game. But long term, I don't think you're upgrading too much. You are probably jumping up a tier, but between tier 1 and tier 2, there's not going to be a ton of difference long term.
Yeah. All right, I agree. Nate, what do you have for us next?
What do I have for you next, Mike? I do not have another player for you because, Mike, we have breaking news. We have breaking news that just happened. I don't know if you've looked at your phone in the past 10 minutes, but the Atlanta Falcons have named Michael Penix Jr. the starting quarterback.
I have not looked at my phone.
So we need to react to this right now.
Yeah, let's do that.
So what are you thinking with Michael Penix? Because he's going to be throwing the ball to Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, to Drake London right now. He's going to get 3 games. So what he does in these next 3 games is going to significantly impact his dynasty value over this offseason. We're going to get a 3-game sample of Michael Penix, and we're going to have 6-7 months to talk about it. So give me some of your thoughts. I'm going to look up his upcoming schedule so we can take a look at who they're going to be playing. Initial thoughts, Mike, when you hear that Michael Penix Jr. is going to be the starting quarterback for the Falcons.
My initial thought is Jalen Milroe should stay at Alabama for another year and get another year under Kalen DeBoer because he gets quarterbacks drafted highly. Here's a trade that went down for Michael Penix Jr. today. I don't know if he's a junior or not, but he is now Russell Wilson, Aaron Jones, and Ty Johnson for Michael Penix in a super flex. James Conner for Michael Penix.
That seems like a reasonable gamble. So Mike, let me real quick. He's going to be playing the Giants this coming week, who Lamar Jackson just threw 5 touchdowns against.
Start
But I
him.
will say, because I'm a huge stand for Lamar and telling you that he's the MVP this year, the Giants haven't allowed more than 2 touchdown passes to anybody else so far this year. So the 5 touchdown passes was pretty impressive, even though they're a bad team. After the Giants, they play at Washington, and then after that, they finish the year off with Carolina.
Okay. So you got one tough game in there against Washington, and then I know that the Giants don't allow a lot, but the good thing is you really don't have to score a lot of points to beat the Giants, to be honest with you. So I think, I'm interested to see what he does. I'm not the biggest Michael Penix Jr. fan. Why am I throwing junior? Is he a junior? I don't know.
He
Whatever.
is Michael Penix Jr., just like
Great.
Brian Thomas Jr., but he might be going by Michael Penix, I believe now.
Tough. That's for your dad, not you, pal. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Here's your chance. And I believe Kirk Cousins signed a 2-year deal before last season.
Something like that, yeah.
So, look, you're benching this guy with 3 games left. Kirk Cousins has never been benched in his career, to the best of my knowledge. And you got your guy. Kirk Cousins could be an interesting buy low right now, too, because I'm sure he will be starting somewhere next year.
Yeah, I would think so. I don't think he's been that bad, though. Over the last 4 or 5 games, he's been pretty bad.
He has, yeah.
And I know that there was a stat that came across. It was like something like 98, 96% of his dropbacks, he stayed in the pocket, which is the highest since Tom Brady played his last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, Kirk is looking a little old out there. That is for sure. So, Mike, before we move on to my next player, let's just talk some costs real quick for Michael Penix Jr. with our initial reaction. Are you paying a late first for Michael Penix? Are you willing to take that kind of gamble on him? Because that's probably what it's going to take from someone who is excited about Penix and cares.
Yeah, if I really want Michael Penix, sure. I'd love to see how it pans out.
I don't know if I'm willing to spend a late first on him. I'm certainly fine with like an early second plus a throw-in player or something like that.
I don't know if that gets it done.
I don't think it gets it done either, though, because, we want to see what's going to happen.
Right.
Anyone who has him at this point is going to hold out for a first until we see him play. And then, hey, if he doesn't do great his first game, you probably can get him for a second-round pick, maybe something on top of it. If he does well, though, then it's definitely going to be a first-round pick moving forward.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, look at that. Some breaking news on the podcast. Breaking news for us. By the time you're listening to this, it'll be Thursday. So you'll have had a day and a half, 2 days to digest the news. But that's our initial reaction.
I do want to say Kirk Cousins does have 23 rushing attempts on the season. Now, granted, that's for 0 yards. But he only needs 42 more yards to have 1,000 career rushing yards.
You might not get there.
Yeah. Nate, did you want to talk about your next player?
I did.
Okay.
My next player will not be playing the rest of the season, and that is David Montgomery. Unfortunately, just tore his MCL after this last week, and he will be out the rest of the year. I don't expect it to affect him too much going into next season. It's not an ACL. MCL is still, a significant little injury, but he should be good to go next year. Finished with 775 rushing yards on the season, 12 touchdowns. Is the RB12 on the season at the moment. So by the time we finish everything, he'll fall to probably RB 16, 18 or so. But a very productive season out of David Montgomery, sharing the backfield with Jahmyr Gibbs. Are we looking to buy into David Montgomery going forward? David Montgomery is not that old. He's someone that I think is still going to be around for quite a while. He's only 27 years old. He will be turning 28 over the offseason, but David Montgomery seems like a running back to me that's going to be playing into his early 30s. He's that good.
I think he's a good buy, not if you're a contending team right now or a rebuilding team, but if you're middle of the pack team, I think David Montgomery is a guy that would be a good target for you.
Yeah, personally. I do agree. So let's look at how much it's going to cost to go get David Montgomery now. It's a straight up swap with James Conner or Joe Mixon.
I'd probably rather keep James Conner just signed a contract extension. And Joe Mixon playing pretty well. I don't know what his contract is off the top of my head. I can look that up for you, but I think right now I would prefer those two guys over David Montgomery. And they also have less competition, even though Trey Benson is there. James Conner is getting a lot of the carries. And Joe Mixon is signed for the Texans through 2026. So
Yeah. What if someone gave you a third on top of Dave Montgomery? Is that enough to sway you, or no, you're keeping one of the guys?
I mean, if I'm knocked out of the playoffs and I want to make some extra moves here and try to get some more draft capital, then that would help to sway me. But it's a deal that I would have to really think about before I pull the trigger.
All right. So Mike's gonna need a little bit more than maybe just a third. All right, this next move here, DeAndre Swift into Mario Douglas for David Montgomery.
I was expecting more out of DeAndre Swift, but man, the Bears just that eight game losing streak just not looking good.
Yeah.
So I think I'll probably go with David Montgomery here on this.
I'll
one.
also go David Montgomery here.
Yeah.
I'm a big Demario Douglas fan, but give me David Montgomery. Like I said, I think he's going to be sticking around for a little while. And then a straight up swap across positions here. Josh Downs for David Montgomery. Which side you taking?
That's tough. How do we even value Josh Downs?
It's tough because we've seen what he can do.
Yeah.
But we know that the Colts are a little inconsistent, especially in the passing game right now.
Yeah. Fair trade, I guess.
I know. I put this one on here. I don't really have a great lean either. I think it can come down to just positional value that you need on your team. If you don't have a lot of wide receiver in your wide receiver depth in your wide receiver room, Josh Downs is probably the move to make there. He's younger. He's going to be productive. I don't know what his upside looks like right now on a week-to-week basis with the Colts, but I can go either way here, honestly.
Yeah, flip a coin. I guess I don't know that this one's tough for me. It's just the math ain't mathing.
All right. Well, Mike, we have one last player to talk about. Why don't you get to it?
All right. So this is going to seem a little odd, but my last dynasty trade value is Ashton Jeanty. Why? He looks like he's going to be the consensus 101 in any format, super flex or one quarterback. So I want to talk about him a little bit. But first we have to figure out how do we get to the 101. And this is a guy, he looks like he's going to be the first running back off the board easily, right? I don't think it's going to be anybody else.
Yeah, I don't think there's much competition. I mean, there's actually a lot of competition, but Jeanty's just that good, I think.
Yeah, and we did a video before the season, and we said, hey, we had Jeanty in our top 5, okay? That was our top 5 running backs. We didn't rank them. We just had a list and said, these are our top 5 right now. Somebody commented saying, how could you not have Jeanty at the 101? Because we weren't ranking those running backs at the time. We just had a list of the top 5 players that we thought at this position. We wanted to see him do it throughout the season. And he did, because Nate, in those 13 games, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that I'm a Boise State fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not from Boise, but I like the blue field. I like Kellen Moore back in the day.
I like Kellen Moore
how they just kept winning in the Fiesta Bowl, even though they were just some random G5 team. So coming into the season, I was really excited about Ashton Jeanty, but I thought I was extremely biased. So I didn't talk about him nearly as much as I should have. And I'm going to remember that for next time, because I also did the same thing with Khalil Shakir. So,
yeah. But we had said in that video, we want to see what he does this season to make him be the 101. And he did it. 13 games, 344 carries, 2,497 yards and 29 touchdowns, 7.3 yards per carry. His receiving numbers are down. They didn't need him to catch the ball a lot. 20 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown. He led college football in rushing attempts, rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns. So, yes. Commenter, I'm sorry, I forget what your name was. We saw what we needed to see, okay? We learned from our mistakes, even though it wasn't mistakes because we weren't ranking them. So to get a value on the 101, I went on fantasypros.com. It took me a while I did a lot of digging for this, okay? And I'm going to put a link to this in here so you can see the page and you can see where I'm coming from to get this value, okay? In a scale of 1 to 100, they have draft picks, individual draft picks for all the rounds. I think it's 1 through 4. They ranked players and everything. It's a scale of 1 to 100. They have graded the 25 101 as a 65 score in a super flex format, okay? So I'm going to give you some players at a few positions that are going to get you close to the 101. Keep in mind, this is a 65. Josh Allen's a 53. Lamar Jackson is a 53. There's a drop off after that. At the running back position, Bijan Robinson is a 75. Okay, so if you wanted Jeanty and you have Bijan, if you wanted to trade out for whatever reason,
Mike,
get some back.
These values on Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson must be one quarterback because they would be 100.
Let me go back.
They're the highest ranked players in Superflex.
I'm going back.
But they'll definitely get you the 101. I can tell you that.
Yeah, so I was reading the wrong column. They're a 127 and a 126.
Yeah, you need over 100 points.
Yeah. So let's redo this. And then Jaden Daniels 112, Hurts 112, Burrow 102. Forgive me. It was late when I was doing this, everybody, and I'm not feeling great. Mahomes is a 95. CJ Stroud's a 93. So there's a bunch of guys. It goes all the way down to Baker Mayfield is a 65. So it's going to be the straight up. And that's quarterback 18 off the board. My apologies, everybody. And then at the running back position, we got Bijan at a 75, Jahmyr Gibbs at a 74, Brees at a 70, Achane at a 64, Saquon Barkley is the last closest one at a 63. Then we have a bunch of wide receivers that are 64 or higher. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Puka Nacua, Drake London, wide receiver 0, A.J. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. Like I said, all 64 or higher. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, those are the highest. They rate at a 90. Okay. And only 2 tight ends even come close. That's Brock Bowers at 57 and Trey McBride at a 53. So I'm going to put the link in here down below for you guys, and you can see where I'm coming from there. But it's one of those things. We're getting into that time, that push, where if you just got bumped out and you're like, man, I need a piece. I need Ashton Jeanty. I don't care where he goes. You know, it's one of those things where we said Brock Bowers, no matter where he goes to the Raiders. I'm like, damn it, man, Michael Mayer's there. It doesn't matter. This is a guy, it doesn't matter who is there. He is going to get carries and he's going to excel. All right. So that's it for Ashton Jeanty.
I love it. I'm glad that we're talking about him already because we're going to be talking about him a lot over the next couple of months. I'm so excited to see him get into the NFL and see what he can do.
Would you like me to do this next week with Tet McMillan?
Maybe.
Because I think he's going to be the 102. I think this could be one of those drafts where even in Superflex leagues, you know, right now, who's our top 2 quarterbacks? Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be other guys. Dylan Gabriel, Kyle McCord could come out. There's going to be other guys, but I don't think that they're, you know, Dylan Gabriel looks to me like he's a really good college quarterback. I don't know what he's going to be in the NFL. Kyle McCord threw for a lot of yards, but that was in Syracuse. Yeah, I know. By the way, Nate, I know you're excited about this. Today, DJ Ungalele did declare for the draft. So here comes your latest 6th-round draft pick, if he's lucky.
So, I mean, I'm looking at the draft order right now, and there's still a little bit of, you know, things that could change at the top. But we have 2 quarterbacks, and we have 2 quarterback-needy teams. And then there's New England, Jacksonville, Carolina after that. I mean, maybe Carolina looks at quarterback again, but I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft class after Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward that's worthy of being a top 10 pick. Yeah. And, you know, I think my opinion at this moment is that Shedeur Sanders is the 101 to the Raiders, and Cam Ward is the 102 to the Giants. That's how I think it's going to end up right now. It could be flip-flopped, but it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out.
Those teams I could see taking a quarterback in the mid-rounds, you know, maybe a developmental guy with aging quarterbacks. It's got the Jets out there, the Rams, the Seahawks. They got some quarterbacks getting older that might not be long-term solutions for them. Teams like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But on draft day, if you want to look your best, grab some merch, man. NFL draft, rookie draft, you know, redraft draft, whatever you want to do. Link is down below. Sign up for our Patreon. You get a week for free. Patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. And until then, everybody, for Nate, I'm Mike. Thank you for listening.